So I want to start actually, turn the page. We're actually going to start on the next page. And I want to wish a fond Tzeitzchem Shalom to Gabe Raskis, who's going back to Eretz Yisrael tomorrow for Shana Vet. Josh Hyman's going back to Eretz Yisrael. Natnell, Tanel Jason going back to Eretz Yisrael. Ella's going back to Eretz Yisrael too. We wish you guys well, and you'll go off on this note. Okay, so we're on it's page Yud Gimel, Parak Bet. Teshuva Pitomit u'Teshuva Hadargit. Okay, so there's Teshuva Pitomit, Teshuva which is like, instantaneous, and then there's Teshuva Hadargit. There's Teshuva that's staged, right? That's gradual. L'gabe meshech zmana haTeshuva mitchaleket lishnei chalakim. When it comes to how does Teshuva happen? Over what amount of time does it happen? Meshech zmana, its duration. It can be divided up into two categories: Teshuva pitomit and Teshuva hadargit, as we said. Hapitomit ba'a mitoch eze barak ruchani hanichnas b'neshama. It's a beautiful language that Rav Kook uses here. When we talk about this instantaneous, this Teshuva that just happens right away, like an epiphany kind of, it comes through a barak ruchani, a spiritual lightning bolt, right? That just that enters into our neshama. B'pam achat makir hu etara v'atakiur shelachet v'ne'apach li'ish acher. And it can happen in one instant. You recognize the evil, you recognize sort of the immorality of one's ways, and kiur shelachet, how disgusting, how unbecoming of you is that sin, and you turn into another person. Right? We have stories like this in the Gemara. The one that comes to mind in particular, Rabbi Elazar ben Dodaya is one that comes to mind. Anyone else? Rish Lakish is a story like that, beautiful, right? And it's interesting because you think about there's someone who's who do we think about that's kind of the ultimate sinner, like Nebuch. He couldn't pull it together. Elisha ben Abuya, Acher. And Elisha ben Abuya had an opportunity. He had a Rish Lakish moment. It's really interesting, right? Rish Lakish's moment was he's robbing Rabbi Yochanan, right, down at the river at the Jordan, and Rabbi Yochanan is in a compromised position. He's in the water, and he's not dressed or whatever. And Rish Lakish says, "Wow!" He sees the way, how strong he was, how he jumped over the river, came in after him, whatever it was, and he says, "What to him? Chelach leoreita." Wow, your strength should be used for Torah. It's unbelievable. And then, he said, all right, well, you're a good-looking guy. Is your sister, as good-looking, And he's like, yeah, my sister's even better looking than I am. Married my sister. Done. It worked out. Baruch Hashem. Acher, Elisha ben Abuya used to learn with his Rabbi Meir. They were like best friends, and they kept learning together even after Elisha went on this bad path. And one day, it was a Shabbos, and they're traveling, and he's on his horse, Elisha ben Acher's on his horse, and Reb Meir is walking, and all of a sudden Elisha says, all right, Meir, stop. So what's wrong? You're about to hit the Tchum Shabbos. He's on his horse, right, and doing whatever. He's like, you're about to hit the Tchum Shabbos. He knows halacha better than even Reb Meir, and he cares about it for Reb Meir more, obviously, than for himself. And Meir just looks at him and goes, Chazor b'cha. Enough. And this is crazy. Do tshuva. This is nuts. Do tshuva. And he could have had it. If all he had to do was turn around, and that would have been it. But he couldn't do it, and he said, well, I can't. He says, I heard a bas call. I heard a heavenly voice that said, Shuvu banim shovavim, return your wayward children. And it says, return your wayward children, chutz me'acher, except for acher. Right? And everyone talks about, come on. There's no way. What does it even mean? First of all, did it really say chutz me'acher, or did it say return my wayward children? So maybe it was return my wayward children, and he had in his mind, he projected chutz me'acher. There's no way I can do it. Or even if you say, Michtam Eliyahu says, even if you say that, no, it said chutz except for acher, it was still part of the test. Of course he could turn around. There's a famous story of the Kotzker Rebbe. You have to talk about this Teshuva Pitomit. Right? It's famous story of the Kotzker Rebbe. Kotzker, towards the end of his life, he spends the last 13 years of his life in semi-seclusion. okay? And he's up in his attic. That's where you can find me in a few years, and maybe I'll say hi every once in a while, And sorry, it's the last 19 years of his life, excuse me, in semi-seclusion. And the Chassidim would still come. They would flock to him. He was just this enigmatic, incredible persona, and they would learn in this base medrash downstairs, hoping to get a glimpse of the Rebbe, right? And every once in a while. And one day, after months and months, he comes downstairs. I told this story once on Yom Kippur commentary. He comes downstairs, and says, "Oh, Rabbi, it's so great to see you. Amazing! Wow, we've missed you. Where have you been?" And he just looks at him with like fire in his eyes, and he says, "Did you do tshuva yet?" What? Did you do tshuva yet? Simple question. Did you do tshuva? Well, it's a process. It's a duration. It's gradual. It's not so easy. And he looks at them and he says, "Doing tshuva is just as simple as turning around." And he turns around and he walks right back up to his attic, and they don't see it, right? And they don't see it for another few months, right? That's the idea. Is it can happen. It can happen if you have the right inspiration and you can do it. And you already feel inside yourself a tremendous change for the good, for the better. There are stories like this. There really are. It's not just Gemara stories, not just Hasidic stories. There are stories like this of people that just all of a sudden they just wake up and they're like, "Well, what am I doing? Where am I going?" And they just start going in a different direction. It may not be you do everything all at once, but you did something. You did something. Tshuva zu ba'a al yedei ezo hafa'a shel segula pnimit. This tshuva comes through some sort of expression, some sort of experience of of an inner segula, like something just special happens inside you. You can't really explain it. Al yedei ezo hashpa'a nishmatit gedola. Through some sort of spiritual influence, some sort of influence in your soul, you just feel it. You just feel there's something wrong with what I'm about to do. There's something, this isn't me. It shouldn't be me, right? And you're lucky enough to hear that piece of your soul. Rav Kook talks about this a lot. In Rav Kook's world, spirituality, and it's not just Rav Kook, it's a lot, in Kabbalistic circles, spirituality it's not about being outward. It's actually about being inward. It's about looking deep inside your soul. What do we call the inner dimension of Torah? What do we call it? Pnimius, the Pnimius HaTorah, the Pnim, right? If I go deep inside myself, it doesn't mean I get lost in my head. It's the opposite. I'm in touch with my soul. The experience of davening, of tefillah, is Pnimius, is being in touch with your soul, right? So the more internal I can get, the more engaged I am, in touch I am with my soul, my neshama, and you feel it. Something happens. That you're able in some way to kind of search out the pathways inside the depth of your soul. Okay, that's one type of tshuva. Like, wow, amazing. V'yeshna tshuva hadargit. Then there's the tshuva that's gradual. Lo brika hibrika b'kirbo. There's no lightning bolt. There's no epiphany, light bulb that goes off b'kirbo litapech mina omek shel hara el hatov. Ela margishu shetzarich liyot holechu meitiv drachav v'rachot chayav. Rather, you just feel like, you know what? I need to become a better person. I got to do it. I got to do this for my kids. I got to be a better father. I got to be a better grandfather, a better brother, a better sister. I just need to do this. Like, I don't want to be living my life this way anymore. I have to start doing things better. Halach machshavotav ub'mahalcho zeh holechu ukovesh la'at et darchei hayosher. What are you doing? You're kind of thinking. You're contemplating. You're weighing the things that you do, the things that you say, and little by little you start getting better. Mitakena tamidot, and you start fixing yourself, fixing your character traits, making better choices. Meitiva tamaasim, milamed atzmo ich leitkasher yoter v'yoter ad shehu ba lema'ala rama shel zikuch v'tikun. and you keep fixing yourself more and more, better and better, until you get to this really exalted level of purity and rectification. It's very clear that Rav Kook seems to be placing primacy on Teshuva Dargit over Teshuva Pitomit. Because, Teshuva Pitomit is like a miracle. It's like, okay, great, all right, I saw God, I felt God. Okay, now what? Now what? Where do I go from here? Right? It can't just be that, I'm like, I turned it around. Okay, now what? Where do you go? Well, there has to be learning. There has to be davening. There has to be tikkun amidot. There has to be chesed. There has to be tzedakah. There has to be all sorts of things that come along with it. And then he says, Teshuva ha'elyona ba mehavraka shel hatova klali. And he says the greatest form of tshuva, this is very, very Rav Kook, comes from that lightning bolt of inspiration of tova klali. How can I better the klal? How do I include myself within the achdus of Klal Yisrael? Shalatov Eloki Ashorev Olamot Kulam. How can I make the world a better place? Or Chai Ha'olamin, the light of the eternal worlds. Nishmat Kol Atzilit Mitztayeret Lefanenu Behodau Kedushata Kama Shehalev Yachol Lispog. V'halo be'emes hakol hu tov yashar kol kach ve'yosh be'atov shabanu halo ba mehit amatenu el hakol. He says the greatest positive things that we bring out into the world, it comes from our actually facing the world. So yes, you need to be internal and listen to your soul, but ultimately, that really needs to lead you to be external, looking at the world and looking at people and say, wow, how can I actually make a positive impact on the world? How can I make a positive impact on the cloud? The world, think about the Jewish world in particular, think Israel right now, it's burning. It's burning. It's crazy. And whether you're on the right or you're on the left, and you think Philadelphia, or you think hostages, or you think this, or you think that, and you're mad at this guy, and you're mad at that guy, the reality is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's a cloud that's suffering. There's a cloud that's suffering. So it doesn't really matter whether you're on the right or on the left. Well, each side is going to have an argument that says it's going to lead to loss of life. It's a reality. It's painful. It's so painful. It's so upsetting. But it's true. So what do you do about it? What do you do about it? You walk over to another human being and you give them a smile and a hello and a hug, and you see someone a little bit in trouble, or someone who's dealing with who's suffering, who's dealing with challenges, and you try to help them. Jew, non-Jew, whatever. That's the Elyona. He says that's the ultimate. How could a person be torn away from everyone else? How can you expect to be a great person, a person that lives their life of a repentant, a penitent person, a tshuva-oriented person, a growth-oriented person, if you are torn away, that word by the way, you rip yourself away from everyone else. Parur mishuneh, mufrad ke'avak dak, shekalo nechshav, like you're some speck of dust that's separate from everyone, from everything. You're going to be kalo nechshav. You don't matter. You're nothing. ומתוך הכרה זו שהיא הכרה אלוקית באמת באה תשובה בחיי הפרט ובחיי הכלל. So ultimately he says, תשובה פתאומית, wow, amazing. You could be amazing. You could be like Rabbi Elazar ben Darius. You could be like Reish Lakish. By the way, you could be like Rabbi Akiva also. They talk about Rabbi Akiva seeing that it sort of happens. It happens over time, but there was a point where he said, all right, now I'm going to do it. And then he kind of did both, pitomit, right? And then Dargit, right? Because he's on his way. Amazing. How can I be like that? But then, we could want to do that. We could also want to just become better over time, a little bit better every year. That's the beauty, by the way, of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. It's a beauty of it, right? It's like, okay, instead of in the New Year, New Year song, oh, blah blah blah, be forgot, blah 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 blah. What are they saying? They're saying we're gonna drink and we're gonna forget everything that we did this year, because who knows what we actually did or didn't do. We'll forget about it, and we'll just make the same mistakes over and over again. Yahadus says, Judaism says, no, we're going to remember our mistakes every single year. And you know what? Each time we do it, maybe one al-Chait out of the hundreds that we do over Yom Kippur and the Avim al-Kins, whatever, we could actually say, hey, you know what? I didn't do that one this year. I got a little better. Right? That's the video. So Mir Hashem, we get there. But ultimately, what we really need, and this Rev Kook says, is to have this recognition. That if I am for myself, right? Ma'ani la'atzmi, ma'ani. If I'm karua me'akol, if I tear myself away from the klal, if I don't look at myself as a human being, as a Jew, as part of the greater whole, I got nothing. But if I could do the opposite, if I could actually just jump in, like into the mikvah of Am Yisrael, of Klal Yisrael, anything is possible. And I could be zaycha to not only tshuva pitomi, not only tshuva dargit, but to tshuva klalit, that could bring about the Mir Hashem Tikun, not just for us, but for our families, for our community,